Alright, so I wanted to do an update video on the 46-gallon aquarium that I purchased yesterday. Did a little bit of work to it today. I got the thermostat, not the thermostat, got the heater unpacked, and I also got the filter unpacked. Coming over here, when I unboxed the filter and I set it on the back of the tank, this thing was sagging real bad. So we had down here the tube pointing way out here, and the front of it was sagging towards the back of the aquarium. And I guess if I wanted to push the aquarium against the wall, it would have held it in place, but I just didn't want it to vibrate against the wall as it's working. This filtration system's actually almost twice what this tank really needs, which is a good thing because that's what the aquarium enthusiasts are recommending these days. So it just wasn't really designed. It's too big for this tank, but given its design, it was looking bad sitting here, so I modified it a little bit. I went up to a local craft store and bought some raw plastic material that I could work with, and I did a little work right here to modify it. I cut a piece of plastic, super glued it, and then I turned around and hot glued the outer edges of it, just to give it a little bit of a better seal and a little bit more reinforcement. Also, down here at the bottom, I super glued and cut 2 pieces of raw material to give it some lower support. I also hot glued it just for some additional support. So now it looks natural. It looks like it's supposed to be. It's not pushed up against the wall. It looks like it fits the way it's supposed to. So I worked on that today. Also, the previous owner had fooled around and popped out the natural cap for the aquarium heater. So I also took some of that raw material, plastic material, and super glued and hot glued it to the top here, and I did a little piece across the back here. And later in the video I'll explain why I have done this with this aquarium lid. Also, with my aquarium lids, especially if you're using aerated air stones, you get a lot of little bubbles, and what happens is those little bubbles accumulate at the surface and they burst. And when they do that, they splash a little bit of water. Now we're talking hundreds of thousands of little bubbles doing this. And if the top of your tank isn't sealed pretty decently, what happens is it squirts water on top of the tank, which accumulates into lime deposits and attracts dirt, and it just makes the top of the tank look disgusting. So I'm going to eventually go over to my other tank to show a good example of why I do what I do. Now, something else I want to point out when I'm doing this is, as you can see, the aquarium lid came with a punch out, but I didn't go with that, and that's exactly why, because of the little bubbles that I'm going to be using in this tank. I just want to try to close off everything as best as I can and try to keep them little bubbles from splashing water and creating a mess on top of the tank. So that's what I did today. It's a good start. Still have some more cleaning to do on the tank. I see some little streaks right here. Alright, so I'll show an example of why I do what I do with my tank lids. Here's my overcrowded tropical tank, and I replaced the air pump today. I wasn't satisfied with the amount of air bubbles I was getting, and the air pump that I have been using is probably about 10 years old, and while I was at the pet store getting supplies today, I just decided to go ahead and get a new air pump. So I hooked it up and tried it out, and this is the result I got. Good Lord, it's a lot of bubbles. So I know it's pretty big. It's designed for a 40 to 60 gallon aquarium, the air pump I'm talking about. So I hooked it up to this, and this is what I'm getting. I got everything turned down, so I don't know if the air pump I was using before is just worn out, or if it's too small, or probably a combination of both. So anyways, given all the bubbles you see at the top there, all the bubbles coming out of my aeration, my air stones that I got stuck, here's the back of my aquarium. As you can see, I used a jigsaw to cut everything as tight as possible to keep those little air bubbles from bursting and creating a mess on the top of my tank. So I think I'm